So, the President of India, is the role just a ceremonial figurehead, or is it actually a crucial guardian of the Constitution? It's a question that really gets to the heart of how India's democracy works. And in this explainer, we are going to unpack that exact puzzle. To really get our heads around this, we have to start with the people who designed the role in the first place. And this quote from Jawaharlal Nehru is so telling. He basically says, look, we didn't give the president any real power, but we made the position one of authority and dignity. A head of state who is respected, who is the face of the nation, but who doesn't actually, govern. This really sets up the central paradox we're going to explore. So, let's look at the rulebook, the Constitution. It says the president is the formal head of the executive. Every single action the government takes is officially done in their name. They're the supreme commander of the defense forces. That sounds incredibly powerful, doesn't it? But the key word, the one you've got to remember, is formal. And this slide right here breaks down that core difference perfectly. You've got the president on one side, the formal head of state, and on the other, the prime minister, who has the real executive power. See, the prime minister's power comes directly from having a majority in the Lok Sabha. They're the ones who are actually running the government day to day. Now, the secret sauce to all of this is right here in Article 74(1) of the Constitution. It states that the president must act on the advice of the Council of Ministers. Think of it like this. The prime minister and their cabinet are the ones writing the code, and the president is the computer that has to run the program. It's a constitutional command, and it's the main reason why the role can often look purely ceremonial. Which, of course, brings us right back to our big question. If the president always has to follow the government's advice, then what's the point? Are they just there for show? Well, not exactly. And this is where we pivot. We're about to move from the president's limitations to their hidden and absolutely vital powers. And that brings us to this fascinating idea of presidential discretion. You see, the framers of the Constitution were brilliant. They built in specific scenarios where the president isn't just a rubber stamp. In these moments, they become a constitutional safety valve, a mechanism that can question, delay, and even guide the political process when it's needed most. Okay, for your exams, it helps to think of these special powers in 3 simple steps. First, there's the power to question. The president can actually send advice from the government back and say, "Are you sure about this?" Now, they can only do it once, but it's a powerful way to signal concern. Second, the power to delay, using something called a pocket veto. And third, the power to choose who becomes prime minister when an election doesn't produce a clear winner. Let's really zoom in on that second power, the power to delay. This is where the president can pretty much put a bill on ice, just by not making a decision on it. It's a quiet tool, but it can be an incredibly powerful check on a government's power. And this isn't just a theory, we have a classic real-world example. Back in 1986, a really controversial bill was passed. A lot of people thought it threatened basic freedoms. It landed on the desk of President Zail Singh. And he didn't sign it, but he also didn't reject it. He just held on to it. He put it in his pocket, so to speak. And because the Constitution doesn't give a deadline, the bill just sat there. By the time the next government came in, the whole issue had lost steam, and the bill just died. That is the pocket veto in action. Okay, now let's look at the third, and maybe the most critical discretionary power of all. The power to choose who leads the country when the voters themselves haven't given a clear answer. So, just imagine this election result. It's a classic hung parliament. Nobody, not Party A, not Party B, crossed that magic majority mark of 272 seats. So, now what? Who gets the first shot at forming a government? This is where the president has to step in and use their own judgment. They have to figure out which leader has the best chance of building a stable coalition. It's a huge call to make. And don't think for a second this is just some rare theoretical problem. Check out this number, 4. Between 1989 and 1998 alone, there were 4 general elections that ended in a hung parliament. So in just one decade, this presidential power was put to the test over and over again. It was absolutely vital for keeping the government running. So, what's the final analysis? What does this all add up to? Well, the president is definitely not just a figurehead. Yeah, when politics are stable, the role is mostly ceremonial. But in those moments of crisis or uncertainty, the president transforms. They become the ultimate guardian of the Constitution. You can think of them as the nonpartisan umpire, making sure everyone plays by the rules.
All right, to get you perfectly exam ready, here's the summary you need to remember. 1. The president is the formal head, but the PM has the real power. 2. The government's advice is binding, but the president can ask for one do-over. 3. Those key discretionary powers are the pocket veto and picking a prime minister when there's no clear winner. And the bottom line? The president's office is a critical stabilizing force, especially when things get messy.
And that brings us to one last thought I want to leave you with. In today's world, with messy coalition governments becoming more and more common, has the safety valve role of the president actually become more critical than the founders of the Constitution ever imagined? It's definitely something to think about.
And there you have it, the complicated, fascinating role of the President of India all unpacked. To make sure you're always getting clear, concise content just like this to get you exam ready, please do us a favor and like, share, and subscribe to the A1 Institute YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching.